Have you ever peered into the shadows? Maybe wondered about hidden truths that lie not just beyond our sight, but, well, literally beneath our very feet?
Mhm.
What if there are agreements in place, pacts so secret, so profound, that they shape our reality in ways we can barely even comprehend?
It's a fascinating thought.
Today, we are taking a deep dive into one of the most compelling, unsettling, and frankly, mind-bending legends of our time, the Dulce Base,
Right.
and the alleged human-alien conflict known as the Dulce War. It's a narrative woven from, eyewitness accounts, purported government documents, and the mysterious fates of those who dared to speak out.
That's right. And for this deep dive, our mission really is to navigate a stack of compelling, often contradictory sources. These come from various truth seekers individuals who claim to have direct knowledge, or maybe indirect evidence, of a secret underground facility
Hmm.
and a violent confrontation within it. We're here to extract the most important nuggets of knowledge, the key insights from these intricate accounts,
And the goal.
helping you, our listener, understand what's truly at stake and what these extraordinary claims might really mean for our world, if anything.
We'll be exploring personal testimonies, purported government documents that honestly sound like they belong in a sci-fi thriller,
Absolutely.
and the detailed analysis of these claims by others who've dedicated their lives to uncovering hidden truths. These aren't just whispers, they're accounts filled with dramatic events,
Yeah, really dramatic.
promising, surprising facts, and taking us on a journey into some deeply unsettling possibilities. So let's begin to unpack this incredible story.
Let's do it.
Our journey into the depths of the Dulce Enigma, it really begins with what many consider the initial spark, the start of the whole Dulce phenomena.
Thomas Castillo.
Exactly. Thomas Castillo's harrowing narrative. This account is widely seen as the foundational piece, the starting point for understanding the Dulce Base and the dark secrets allegedly hidden within its subterranean levels.
It really sets the stage.
Castillo's story immediately thrusts us into a world of clandestine operations, moral quandaries, and a profound sense of human desperation.
Castillo's initial encounter, as he describes it, is truly chilling. It paints such a vivid picture of the extreme conditions, supposedly, within this facility.
How did it start?
He describes an unsanctioned meeting, a desperate, hushed gathering deep within one of the base's labyrinthine tunnels. Around 10 lab workers approached him.
Just approached him out of the blue.
Apparently so. Their faces, he said, were etched with fear. They were seeking a confidential discussion, completely outside of any official protocol.
Wow, that alone tells you the immense risk they felt they were taking.
Oh, absolutely. The sheer terror they must have harbored, knowing that such a meeting would undoubtedly be forbidden. The consequences could have been severe.
And what they revealed to him, it was even more shocking, wasn't it? More horrifying than just the secrecy of the meeting itself.
Much more. These workers didn't just tell him stories. They came armed with tangible, undeniable evidence. Or so Castillo claims.
Like what kind of evidence?
Imagine this. They showed him actual newspaper clippings,
Mm-hmm.
complete with headlines and photographs. Proof, they said, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that people held captive in the base were actually missing persons.
Missing persons from the outside world.
Yes, individuals who were searched for, mourned by their families. Now, according to these workers, held captive in this hidden facility.
That's a chilling detail. It immediately raises profound, deeply unsettling questions about human rights, governmental accountability.
And the dark underbelly of such a secret operation. It's one thing to hear about, alleged alien interactions or secret tech. It's another entirely to be confronted with claims of concrete evidence.
Mm-hmm.
Evidence of human beings being held against their will.
The immense life-threatening risk involved for these workers, and for Castillo himself, you really can't overstate it.
No, you can't. Castillo vividly describes seeing unconcealed fear plastered across their faces. They were acutely aware of the extreme danger.
Sharing this kind of information.
Exactly. This wasn't a casual leak. This was a desperate plea, a moral breaking point for individuals who apparently could no longer bear witness to the unspeakable atrocities they claimed were occurring within the base.
And then there's that incredibly powerful quote from one of them, a statement that clearly resonated deeply with Castillo, really shook him.
Right, the one about losing his life versus losing his soul.
Yes, he declared it would be better to lose his life trying to save people than to lose his soul doing nothing.
That sentiment is incredibly profound. It speaks to a deep moral crisis festering within the base, if the story is true.
A realization by some of the staff that continued complicity was just not an option anymore. that the ethical line had been obliterated.
And it was after hearing this, and Castillo revealing his own suspicions, his own discoveries about the base's true nature, that he decided to join them.
Joined their desperate cause.
Indeed. What started as a desperate leak transformed, according to the account, into a burgeoning resistance movement. This small, courageous group, united by a common purpose and a shared sense of moral outrage. It's resolved to tell people around the world the truth about the Dulce Base.
That decision, forged in the shadows, under constant threat, it set the stage for the violence that followed.
Inexorably. It set the stage for the dramatic, violent events that would soon unfold.
And unfold they certainly did, in a way that takes this already incredible story to another level of complexity and, frankly, intrigue.
Right.
This burgeoning alliance didn't just include human lab workers and security personnel. Castillo claims they began collaborating with working-class Greys.
Yeah, that's a key detail.
Now, what does that term working-class Greys imply in these sources? Does it suggest like a hierarchy in alien society? Or maybe a different faction within the Greys present there?
That's a fascinating distinction, and one that adds a real layer of depth to the alien narrative presented by Castillo. The sources don't explicitly detail, Grey sociology.
Yeah.
But the phrase working-class Greys definitely implies some kind of social stratification. It suggests maybe not all Greys were involved in or even condoned the alleged abduction and experimentation programs.
So dissent within the alien ranks.
Possibly. Or perhaps a segment of their society that was itself exploited or disagreed with the objectives of the, let's say, dominant Grey factions or their human collaborators.
And their motivation, according to Castillo.
A shared interest in freeing the imprisoned humans from the lower levels. It paints a picture of sympathetic alien factions, perhaps themselves enslaved or just disagreeing with the leadership.
Willing to work with humans against a common enemy. Or a perceived injustice.
Exactly. It immediately adds layers of complexity. It shows that even in this supposed hidden world, alliances and conflicts could, theoretically, transcend species.
It's a twist that profoundly alters the typical alien narrative, doesn't it? Suggests something far more nuanced.
Absolutely.
However, as often happens with these clandestine operations, this resistance movement, despite its secrecy, was eventually discovered.
Right. Appropriate services, as Castillo puts it.
Which we assume means the base's internal security, or maybe a higher-level oversight group.
That seems likely. They eventually learned about this growing insurgency, and the response, as detailed by Castillo, was immediate, brutal, absolutely drastic.
What was the order?
The order came directly from above, for the absolute elimination of everyone and everything that bore traces of the so-called leak.
Absolute elimination, not containment, not neutralization.
No, total eradication. A clear signal that the powers that be, whoever they were willing to go to extreme, morally reprehensible lengths to protect their secrets and maintain control.
Control over the base's horrific activities, as alleged.
Precisely. This directive set the stage for a brutal military response, the very core of what became known as the Dulce War.
And Castillo provides these harrowing details of the military assault. He describes how an elite Delta unit was swiftly dispatched.
Their objective clear: destroy the resistance, erase all evidence.
He recounts a swift and brutal military attack that began, shockingly, in the entrance tunnels of the base.
It sounds like a scene ripped directly from a nightmare.
Yeah.
Sudden, violent, utterly terrifying. He paints a vivid, chaotic picture of the massacre that ensued.
A cleaning unit, he called it.
Yes, a ruthless cleaning unit, highly efficient, operating without mercy. They killed all the people and Greys who were on their list.
And what makes it even more horrifying is his insistence on their defenselessness.
Exactly. He states, chillingly, we had no weapons, just like the lab workers. He noted only the base guards and maybe a few IT personnel were armed.
So it wasn't a fight, it was a slaughter.
A brutal, one-sided slaughter, designed for maximum elimination, minimal resistance. He describes everyone screaming, running in search of shelter, but the tunnels were full. No escape routes, no refuge.
And he was convinced it was Delta Force.
Convinced. Based on their distinct uniforms, their highly professional tactical approach, and the merciless methods used, wiping out everyone involved in the resistance without exception.
Yet, amidst this horrific chaos and slaughter, Thomas Castillo, against all odds, managed to escape.
Miraculously, it seems.
And crucially, he claims he didn't escape empty-handed. He got out with tangible evidence.
Right. Photos and video recordings.
What?
What later became known as the Dulce Papers.
These documents, along with his personal testimony, they form a significant part of the early evidence, supporting the base's alleged existence and the horrific activities claimed to be happening inside.
This initial account from Castillo really serves as a foundational piece, a critical spark that ignited the wider Dulce narrative and forced many to consider these deeply unsettling possibilities.
What's truly fascinating here, though, is that the very idea of a joint human-alien base, as hinted at by Castillo's account, the human-gray collaboration, it implies a prior, even more fundamental agreement, a formal agreement between human governments and extraterrestrial races.
That immediately raises an important question, doesn't it? Is there any evidence presented in our sources of such an agreement, a foundational pact that could have led to such clandestine operations?
And the sources we've looked at suggest maybe yes.
They do. They point to an alleged historical event, the Eisenhower-Grays Treaty of 1954.
So this isn't just about a secret base operating in the shadows now. It's potentially about a foundational pact dating back decades to a pivotal moment in the Cold War.
And Dr. Michael Wolff, another key figure in these narratives.
We'll hear more about him later.
Yes. He asserted that the Eisenhower administration struck a deal with Greys from the fourth planet of the Zeta Reticuli star system.
But here's the critical, legally devastating detail he includes.
The ratification issue?
Exactly. This treaty was supposedly never ratified as required by the Constitution.
Think about the profound implications of that. A U.S. government, allegedly, circumventing its own foundational laws, the very framework of its democratic process.
For such an extraordinary pact with an alien race, it would mean operating entirely outside public, legislative, even most congressional oversight.
A true shadow government, accountable to no one. The implications for sovereignty, for democratic accountability, they're profound.
And Colonel Philip Corso, a highly decorated military intelligence officer who actually served on Eisenhower's National Security Council, he offers an even more chilling interpretation.
What did Corso say?
He stated, and this is a powerful, almost desperate quote, "We negotiated a kind of surrender.
A surrender.
Because we couldn't fight them or dictate terms, because they knew we were most afraid of the revelation of the secret."
Wow, that paints a picture not of a mutually beneficial alliance, but of profound weakness, desperation on humanity's part.
Fear of immediate disclosure, the potential global panic, that was the driving force, according to Corso.
So the government, in this view, chose secret subjugation over public transparency.
And it's not just Wolff and Corso who corroborate this idea. Phil Schneider.
The geological engineer.
Yeah.
We'll definitely get to his story.
Right. He also spoke to this foundational agreement. He explicitly stated that in 1954, during the Eisenhower administration, the federal government decided to bypass the United States Constitution and signed an agreement with the aliens.
Did he give it a name?
He did. He called it the Greta Treaty.
Greta. Interesting. The consistency across these different sources, despite their different backgrounds, different angles, it's compelling.
It suggests a common hidden origin point for many of these claims, doesn't it, regarding the existence and general time frame of such a treaty?
It really does. And the alleged terms of this treaty are where it gets particularly unsettling.
Yeah.
It reveals a very dark bargain.
What were the terms, according to the sources?
Initially, the agreement permitted aliens to collect livestock, which itself is a deeply disturbing euphemism.
Disturbing is putting it mildly.
And even more horrifyingly, to test their implementation techniques on many humans.
Test on humans, with permission.
With a critical caveat, supposedly, a safeguard.
Mm-hmm.
They were required to submit a list of
Yeah.
the humans they abducted.
Why?
Ostensibly, to allow the government to monitor what was happening, to maintain some semblance of control over the process.
But hi, and this is crucial, isn't it? Did they provide the lists?
The sources emphasize that, perhaps predictably, the aliens gradually modified the terms of the agreement to their advantage, showing a clear disregard for the human side of the pact.
And the lists.
Most importantly, they did not provide the list of abducted citizens.
Which would be a profound breach of the fundamental terms.
Exactly. This later became a source of friction, a growing point of contention and distrust between the Greys and the American authorities, escalating the inherent instability of the whole arrangement.
It paints a picture of progressive betrayal, leading to an increasingly volatile situation.
Precisely. And the quid pro quo for this deeply problematic agreement. Allegedly, alien technology transfer.
That's what the government got out of it.
That's the claim. Colonel Corso specifically believed the treaty was signed in exchange for the Greys gathering genetic materials in the U.S., which the government then traded for alien tech.
And Dr. Wolf mentions specifics.
He did. He specifically mentioned highly advanced technologies like anti-gravity ships and a massive amount of unknown fuel, the so-called Element 115.
Element 115, that name pops up a lot in these circles.
It does. In these narratives, it's claimed to be a crucial fuel for their anti-gravity propulsion systems, allowing for interstellar travel, other advanced feats.
So the idea is the government gained advanced tech, maybe military superiority.
While aliens gained unparalleled access to human biological resources.
There's a particularly provocative and frankly disturbing detail mentioned in our sources regarding why the U.S.
The genetic diversity theory.
Yes, the theory that the genetic diversity of the U.S. made it more attractive as a party to the Treaty for the Greys than racially poorer powers such as Russia and China.
If that claim holds any truth, it paints a very specific, profoundly disturbing picture of alien interest in human biology.
Viewing entire populations through a lens of genetic utility, almost like a resource to be harvested.
It raises deeply uncomfortable questions about alien motivations and their perceived value of human life.
From the human government's perspective, though, how could they possibly justify this, even internally?
Well, the administration might have argued, however morally reprehensible, that the treaty provided an opportunity to monitor, report, and monitor what happens to citizens who became part of the genetic experiments carried out by the Greys.
That would be the supposed benefit, the rationalization.
The way they could perhaps rationalize such a pact to themselves or to the very few who were privy to it.
But the lack of lists completely undermined that justification.
Exactly. It rendered the entire arrangement inherently flawed, dangerous, and ultimately a betrayal of the very citizens it claimed perhaps to be protecting.
And this alleged agreement with the Zeta Greys, according to our sources, this is what probably led to the creation of secret joint bases.
Scattered across the United States.
Their functions, as described, were incredibly broad and deeply concerning, pushing the boundaries of ethical considerations.
What functions are mentioned?
Allegedly, technology exchange, mind control experiments, monitoring gray genetic experiments, and disturbingly direct human rights violations.
That's the crucial link, directly connecting the secret, unratified treaty to the alleged horrific activities taking place at places like Dulce.
And the secrecy surrounding all this.
The very existence of both the alleged treaty and these joint bases apparently obtained the highest level of secrecy, known only to a very limited number of selected and appointed officials.
Extreme classification.
Which allowed these functions, including horrific human rights abuses, to be carried out without the control and supervision of congressional policy or public opinion, including foreign opinion.
It effectively created a shadow government, operating entirely beyond democratic oversight or public accountability, with unimaginable power and the deepest, darkest secrets.
So with this staggering context of potential secret treaty, Deep Hidden Joint Bases, the source material, really offers three main possibilities for what was truly happening at Dulce.
Okay, let's recap those. Possibility 1.
First, and perhaps the most alarming, a strictly secret human-alien collaborative base truly exists, carrying out deeply disturbing projects, including the abductions and severe human rights violations described by whistleblowers.
The scenario that keeps many awake at night.
Indeed. Second possibility.
A base at Dulce does exist, but the reports of terrible alien abuses were part of a sophisticated disinformation campaign.
Right. Designed to maybe discredit those investigating it, make them seem unstable, untrustworthy, or maybe just obscure the true nature of any legitimate, albeit clandestine, projects happening there.
So some truth mixed with deliberate falsehoods to confuse and deter.
That's the idea. And the third possibility.
The most dismissive one. All stories about Dulce are pure disinformation, a complete fabrication.
Created maybe to deliberately undermine serious UFO research or public involvement altogether. Basically a grand hoax designed to distract or ridicule.
Okay. As we delve into the accounts of the conflict itself, the Dulce War, we need to keep these three possibilities firmly in mind.
Absolutely. We'll be looking to see which narrative aligns most closely with the available evidence, the cumulative weight of the testimonies, and, importantly, the fates of those who came forward.
This critical lens will help us determine the most plausible interpretation offered by the sources.
So, if we connect this back to the bigger picture, the very existence of a secret facility, supposedly dedicated to such sensitive, ethically questionable projects.
From tech exchange to mind control, human rights violations.
It makes it highly probable that one or more of these projects would inevitably become a flashpoint for conflict, which brings us to what's widely known as the Dulce War.
And there's a general consensus among truth seekers about this.
They generally agree that an armed conflict occurred, resulting in significant casualties among human staff, security personnel, and various alien representatives.
But the exact cause, that's where the stories diverge.
That remains a point of contention among the various accounts, yes, leading to different interpretations of this pivotal event.
As we touched on earlier, Thomas Castillo's account, it explicitly claims that the conflict began because of the resistance movement.
Right, involving human lab workers, security officials, and those sympathetic working-class grays.
All seeking to help the imprisoned humans on the lower levels.
Castillo believes this act of defiance, this internal rebellion against the horrific activities, is what directly triggered the order from above for the absolute elimination.
Initiating the brutal, violent confrontation, his narrative paints a clear picture. Desperate rebellion met with extreme annihilatory force.
Which leads us to another prominent truth seeker with a claimed first-hand account, Phil Schneider.
And his story adds a whole new dimension, doesn't it? A strikingly different perspective on the cause and nature of the Dulce War.
It does. Potentially complementing Castillo's even, rather than directly contradicting it, or maybe just showing a different part of the picture.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Phil Schneider, the geological engineer, claimed intimate involvement in building deep underground bases for the U.S. government.
He built his professional reputation as a geological and civil engineer, working in highly classified military and air zones.
He went on record stating he was involved in constructing 2 major bases in the U.S. that he believed were crucial to a New World Order.
And for context, that term, New World Order, in these circles, refers to an alleged secret cabal, global elites, maybe non-human entities, seeking totalitarian world control.
One of these major projects, he claimed, was the Dulce Base itself, his first major project, he said.
And his description of its scale is just staggering.
He asserted it was probably the deepest in the world, extending 7 levels deep into the earth, over 400 kilometers deep. The sheer scale, it's almost incomprehensible.
Schneider's claims of direct involvement are incredibly specific and dramatic. He stated he participated in an armed skirmish with humanoid aliens in Dulce in 1979.
And he survived?
He claimed to be a survivor, yes, miraculously. He then went on to claim he was the only survivor speaking today, with the other 2 under strict surveillance by special services.
And his description of these special services?
Chillingly described them as humanoids lacking natural human reflexes.
Humanoids lacking reflexes? What does that even imply? Artificial constructs. Genetically engineered beings.
The sources don't elaborate, but it immediately sets a dark tone, implying a vast hidden conspiracy that transcends conventional human power structures.
And the casualties in that skirmish.
He chillingly stated, 66 intelligence agents, black boots. That term, often used for specific, highly secretive paramilitary or security forces and other service representatives, died.
66 human personnel.
That was his claim. He emphatically concluded, I was there and saw it all with my own eyes.
So what caused this brutal conflict, according to Schneider's first-hand account? His version is significantly different from Castillo's resistance narrative.
Very different origin point. Schneider described it as an accident occurring during planned drilling for base expansion.
An accident? How?
He elaborated, saying, I was involved in the expansion of a deep underground military base in Dulce. We were drilling 4 different wells, intending to connect them. My job was to go deep into the boreholes, examine the rock characteristics, and recommend appropriate explosives.
Sensitive work.
Very. And it was while descending one of these boreholes, preparing for this explosive work, that they supposedly made a shocking, unexpected discovery.
What did they find?
They found themselves in a large section full of aliens, also called large grays, in a tunnel system not on any other geological maps.
So they just broke through into an alien area.
Schneider inferred they had accidentally stumbled into a place in the base not intended for humans, a hidden, maybe ancient part of the facility.
And the large grays.
He believed they, encountering this unexpected human presence, clearly read our mistake as aggression, despite it being an accident from the human perspective.
And from that perceived aggression, a fight erupted.
Yes. Schneider claimed that during the ensuing conflict, he personally killed 2 of them.
He killed 2 grays.
His claim. He stated there were about 30 large grays there when the shooting started, and then, horrifyingly, another 40 or 50 arrived, pouring into the scene.
And the outcome.
He reported that all of them, The entire alien contingent involved in that specific skirmish were killed.
All of them. That sounds incredibly
He
intense.
expressed utter astonishment, saying, "We were surprised by the existence of an entire underground base filled with aliens. Not just a section, an entire hidden base below the one they were building."
And he connected this to ancient astronauts.
He did. He later theorized that these aliens had been living in the greatest secrecy on our planet since ancient times, a revelation which, for him, explained much of what lies behind the ancient astronaut theory.
Okay, this is a key difference from Castillo's account and the whole joint base idea.
Absolutely. Schneider emphatically did not consider the base to be joint, not in the sense of a collaborative project from day one.
He saw it as American-built, accidentally hitting something else.
Exactly. A 7-level, strictly American structure that accidentally stumbled upon an ancient base of extraterrestrial races. This implies a hidden, even deeper layer to the base, maybe unknown even to those building its upper levels.
Multiple layers of secrecy, maybe multiple disparate groups operating underground.
It certainly suggests that possibility.
So how do we begin to reconcile these wildly different origin stories for the same alleged event? Castillo, resistance movement triggers a military purge. Schneider, accidental discovery leads to a violent confrontation.
Does one seem more credible? Or do they maybe reveal different facets of an even larger, more complex situation?
Could it be that Schneider was only partially informed? Maybe his team unknowingly facilitated Delta Force's access to the lowest level 7 where the real conflict started, perhaps linked to Castillo's leak?
That's a critical analytical point. The sources don't offer a definitive reconciliation, which makes the narrative all the more intriguing.
It's plausible, isn't it, that Schneider, even as an engineer building parts of the base, wouldn't know everything, especially about sensitive political agreements or internal resistance involving aliens.
Highly plausible. His group might have genuinely stumbled upon a deep-dwelling alien presence, interpreting it as an invasion or unexpected encounter.
While simultaneously,
A larger, pre-planned military operation, maybe triggered by the resistance Castillo described, was underway. Or perhaps initiated because his team unwittingly breached that ancient hidden section.
that interpretation allows both accounts to hold a kernel of truth, doesn't it? Representing different perspectives, different levels of awareness within a vast, highly compartmentalized secret operation.
It's one way to potentially harmonize the accounts, yes.
Now, after 1993, Schneider made a significant shift. He stopped working on military contracts entirely,
Why the change?
due to his deepening conviction that the Large Greys had a secret plan to establish a new world order with their human collaborators. This belief, born from his alleged experiences, propelled him down a path of public disclosure.
A dangerous path.
Incredibly dangerous, as it turned out. He courageously began a series of public lectures, fearlessly revealing the alleged activities of the underground bases he claimed to have built.
And the role of alien races in infiltrating governments.
Yes, and creating this new world order. His main lecture at the MUFON conference in May 1995 was widely publicized, widely distributed, exposed his claims to a much broader audience.
But then, tragically, his story takes that profoundly dark, mysterious turn.
Schneider was found dead in his home in January 1996, just 7 short months after that major public lecture where he laid bare his extraordinary claims.
And the circumstances were strange.
Particularly strange and disturbing, he died from asphyxiation by a medical catheter found wrapped around his neck, despite having been ill.
And the official ruling was suicide.
Yes, but his family, friends, many researchers vehemently dispute that. His autopsy report, the peculiar nature of his death, it led many to believe he was eliminated, silenced for his public revelations.
And this is where his death itself becomes part of the evidence for those who believe his claims.
Exactly. Schneider's excellent knowledge of engineering geology, giving him technical credibility, combined with his mysterious death so soon after going public.
It's presented as strong support for his central thesis. An underground base exists at Dulce, and a violent confrontation occurred at its lowest levels between aliens and human forces, likely Delta Force.
The implication is chillingly clear. He knew too much. His elimination was a direct consequence of his whistleblowing, suggesting a powerful entity went to extreme lengths to suppress the information he possessed.
Which raises another important question. Are there other accounts, similar conflicts, maybe different locations, different times, that connect to this narrative?
Our sources point to Dr. Michael Wolff's account, a skirmish between aliens and U.S. Special Forces, which he states took place in 1975 in Area 51, S4 in Nevada.
Wolf's description provides a chilling context for this incident. He claimed Greys were actively sharing some of their highly advanced technology,
Specifically.
anti-gravity ships, and large quantities of unknown fuel, the so-called Element 115, sharing this with government scientists in secret underground structures in Nevada and New Mexico.
Part of that alleged technology transfer deal from the treaty.
That was his claim, a quid pro quo for alien access. The incident itself, according to Wolf, occurred May 1st, 1975, during a critical tech transfer involving a small alien antimatter reactor.
Antimatter reactor, wow.
He claims one of the Greys, concerned about the reactor's volatile energy, requested a Delta security colonel to unload all available weapons and remove them from the room
A safety precaution.
to prevent accidental discharge during an energy surge. Seems logical. But the military, Wolf says, stubbornly refused this request.
Why refuse?
Wolf doesn't fully explain why. But that refusal, according to him, led directly to disaster. Confusion erupted in the tense environment, leading to uncontrolled fire from the human military personnel.
And the aftermath.
Significant casualties. Devastating. One of the Greys, 2 scientists, and 41 soldiers were killed. 41 U.S. soldiers.
41.
Furthermore, one surviving scientist shockingly claimed the aliens, in response, used targeted mental energy to destroy the attacking Delta forces.
Mental energy, like psychokinesis.
That's the implication. Incredibly advanced alien capabilities. A truly devastating, one-sided outcome for the human military. Wolf concluded this incident ended the exchange with the Greys, at least for a time.
There are definite similarities here to the Dulce War accounts. Significant U.S. military casualties after a violent confrontation with aliens in a secret underground base.
It suggests a disturbing pattern, if true.
Yeah.
But there are also notable differences, potential inconsistencies.
Like the date and location.
Right. Wolf places his incident in 1975. Dulce is usually 1979. Location is Nevada S4, not New Mexico's Dulce Base.
And Wolf's description of the aliens.
Crucially, Wolf describes the aliens in his account as prisoner slaves, which seems highly unlikely for aliens to participate in important technological exchange. If they're the superior party dictating treaty terms, it feels contradictory.
So are these true contradictions? Or, as some sources suggest, deliberate obfuscations?
It's proposed these inconsistencies might mean Wolf either described a completely different conflict or the same conflict, but with certain inconsistencies designed to hide the true nature and location.
A controlled leak. Deliberate inaccuracies for security.
It's put forward as a possibility. A carefully crafted story to confuse, misdirect, deterred investigation. A classic tactic in espionage and secret programs.
But despite these potential issues, Wolf later made a significant admission, didn't he?
Incredibly significant for the Dulce narrative, yes. He later admitted in an interview that he worked in the Dulce laboratory itself.
So he did have first-hand knowledge of Dulcia.
That statement directly reconfirms the base's existence, according to those who believe him, and by extension lends more validity to Castillo's claims, suggesting Wolf knew about Dulce, even if details in his public account were tweaked.
It adds a powerful layer of credibility, potentially, to the overall claim of a secret base there.
Okay, finally, let's bring in Bob Lazar, another well-known, highly controversial figure in this world of alleged alien tech and secret government projects.
Lazar's story aligns remarkably with the claims of a hidden conflict.
Bob Lazar, the physicist, famous for claiming he worked at S4 near Area 51 in Nevada.
His credentials.
He states he holds degrees in physics and electronics, a PhD in magnetohydrodynamics relevant, theoretically, to advanced propulsion. He worked at Los Alamos, then hired by S4 in '88 for gravity propulsion and everything related to reverse engineering alien tech.
His background gives his claims a certain technical weight, even with the debates around his credentials.
It does. He speaks from a technical perspective. Lazar revealed that during his initial briefing at S4 to prepare him for this highly classified work,
Yes.
he was required to read special documents, official classified records, he claimed. And he explicitly recalled these documents mentioned a battle between aliens and humans in a secret base in 1979.
From official documents. That's compelling corroboration, if true.
It is an independent recollection stemming from alleged official materials.
And what caused the conflict, according to the documents Lazar read?
He stated the documents attributed the conflict to a base guard trying to smuggle weapons into the alien sector.
Another different trigger mechanism.
Yes, different from Schneider's accident or Castillo's resistance movement, but still pointing to an internal human-alien conflict, arising from a breach of protocol or trust within a secret facility. It adds another perspective on potential flashpoints.
Ultimately, Lazar's recollection, whether from actual documents or some briefing, it most likely refers to the armed skirmish in Dulce in 1979.
And it shares similarities in the core description with Wolf's account, too. The common thread across these seemingly disparate accounts is that violent confrontation. Human and alien forces, secret underground facility, around that pivotal time, 1979.
Regardless of the precise trigger, the convergence of these different narratives from individuals with varied backgrounds, experiences, it provides a powerful cumulative effect.
Okay, we've analyzed multiple, sometimes conflicting accounts surrounding Dulce Base, each adding its own layer to this complex tapestry of claims.
So if we connect this to the bigger picture, it's time to consolidate what we've learned, revisit those three possibilities we discussed.
Is Dulce a real collaborative base with horrific secrets? Is it disinformation to discredit investigators? Or is the whole thing an outright fabrication?
The evidence, as presented by these truth seekers, certainly seems to overwhelmingly reinforce the claims of a real active base and an actual conflict.
We have Castillo's Dulce papers,
Yeah.
his harrowing eyewitness account, plus alleged physical evidence, photos, videos, foundational testimony.
Then there's Phil Schneider's direct involvement, his compelling testimony, his engineering background, and critically, his dramatic, mysterious death.
That provides powerful corroboration. The peculiar circumstances of his death, perceived by many as assassination, lend significant, chilling credibility. It strongly suggests someone powerful sought to silence him.
Implying there was something profoundly significant he was revealing.
And we can't overlook Bob Lazar's confirmation. His independent recollection from alleged secret documents at S4, mentioning a 1979 armed conflict in a secret base.
Adds another layer of corroboration from a seemingly unrelated source. Even if he wasn't at Dulce, reading about it in classified materials suggests it's part of a hidden, acknowledged narrative within top-secret circles.
Furthermore, our sources mentioned additional supporting evidence from abducted persons whose testimonies were recorded in the book War in Dulce, claiming hypnotic regression reports aligned with elements of the Dulce narrative.
Encounters with Greys, experiences in underground facilities.
It suggests a pattern of experience extending beyond just a few key whistleblowers, hinting at a wider, maybe more systemic phenomenon.
So what does this all mean when we piece it together? It's fascinating how even the efforts to discredit these claims can, paradoxically, seem to reinforce them.
Our sources specifically highlight that. The aggressive disinformation campaign against truth seekers like Castillo, Schneider's mysterious death. They're presented as evidence in themselves.
The argument being, if these stories were just wild fabrications, why go to such extreme lengths to suppress the information or, allegedly, eliminate those speaking out?
The very act of suppression, for many, implies there was something profoundly significant, something real to suppress.
And when we look across all these diverse accounts, despite minor inconsistencies, certain powerful common threads emerge consistently.
Strengthening the overall narrative, we hear repeatedly about vast, deep, secret underground facilities.
The undeniable presence of extraterrestrial beings is a constant.
Allegations of high-level clandestine agreements, like the Eisenhower-Grays Treaty, allowing alien interaction.
The alleged transfer of advanced alien technology.
Most disturbingly, consistent, harrowing allegations of severe human rights violations, abduction, experimentation on humans within these hidden facilities.
And finally, the most dramatic commonality. Violent confrontations between human and alien forces, resulting in casualties on both sides.
All occurring within these hidden, highly classified underground complexes, and by every account, operating under extreme secrecy, explicitly outside democratic oversight, beyond public scrutiny.
So when we synthesize these possibilities, weigh the cumulative evidence, the sheer volume, the often corroborating nature of these diverse accounts.
Despite inconsistencies in minor details,
It overwhelmingly points towards that first possibility, doesn't it?
it seems to, according to the sources, that a strictly secret human-alien collaborative base truly exists in Dulce, where projects including abductions and serious human rights violations are ongoing.
The other possibilities, disinformation, complete fabrication, seem far less likely given the sheer volume, the details, the corroboration.
And perhaps most compellingly, the personal risks and tragic fates of these whistleblowers. The narrative gains undeniable weight when you consider what these individuals allegedly sacrificed.
Making the idea of it all being a grand fabrication seem increasingly improbable, at least within the context of these specific claims.
We've taken a deep dive into the extraordinary and truly unsettling claims surrounding the Dulce Base, from secret treaties and tech exchanges.
To harrowing accounts of resistance, massacres, and the mysterious deaths of those who dared to speak. It's a narrative that challenges our understanding of reality, our trust in authority.
And the hidden forces that might be at play literally beneath our very feet, which raises an important question, echoing far beyond these alleged tunnels.
If these accounts hold even a kernel of truth, what are the profound implications?
For our understanding of national sovereignty, the sacred principles of human rights, and indeed, humanity's true place in the broader cosmic community. The so what here is immense.
Potentially reshaping our view of history, the present, our future, in ways we can barely begin to fathom.
The idea that governments might be operating such deep, secret facilities, potentially with non-human entities.
And that whistleblowers face such dire consequences for speaking out. It leaves us with a truly provocative thought.
What other secrets might be buried, literally and figuratively, beneath our very feet, waiting to be unearthed? What do you think?